So it's been a while since we have done anything like this, but we thought it might be something good to record and just have to look back on. But basically, we found out that we're having a baby. We didn't just find out, we're quite a ways into it.
Over half.
But we do have like a lot of video clips and just photos and things that have happened along the way that we want to be able to look back on. So kind of the goal with this is to just like reflect and then hopefully catch up and have those kinds of memories. But we found out that we were going to have a baby in late July, and it was, to many people, they thought that it was like a surprise to us, but I wouldn't say it was really a surprise to us. It just happened really quickly after we started trying.
Like, really quickly.
Yeah. We won't be too much information, but it was just very, very quickly. So we built a house earlier this year, and I guess that was a little bit of our decision. There were probably a lot of factors that went into it. But we are now living in Sneads Ferry, and we have built our own house, and we found out that we're having a baby. And I don't know, let's just start with like how we both found out. Well, I guess I have to go first because I found out first. Well, I found out it was a Sunday morning in July. It was like July 20 something, I can't remember. But Spencer was leaving the next day to go to National Guard. But I just decided to take the test. So I had bought these two tests from CVS. Or like first response, I'm pretty sure, and one of them was a yes or no, and the other one was like the lines. And I didn't really know a whole lot about like the fact that there were two different kinds in a pack, so I just opened one up and took it. And it was probably like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it started blinking, and then it blinked and said yes after like 2 seconds, and I was just kind of like I didn't know what to think. Like I didn't really believe it. Like I was just like, oh, it's wrong, or like maybe this is a dream and I'm just asleep, or I didn't really know how to process it. But then I was really excited, and I took the other one, and it was like a strong 2 lines, which was almost confusing to me because I knew that I would have had to have been around like 3 weeks and some change at the time. So from what I did know about tests, from like watching videos, hearing stories from friends, to get something to show like positive that quick is really weird. But anyway, I just decided that I wanted to tell Spencer.
Alright, so me and Carly had left to go to church, and typically we either get breakfast or lunch, either before or after church, one of the two. And we were at McDonald's.
You make it sound so horrible that we were at McDonald's.
And she pretty much just told me, and I didn't believe her at first. I mean, literally, when I say fast, I mean fast. When we found out everything.
I think I showed you the test. Isn't that how I told you?
They shouldn't have been a test. And I was shocked. I didn't believe her at first. And then she had another one. She showed me that one too. And I was pretty excited. She says I was rude, but I was just shocked. I didn't believe it. It was like really fast.
I don't think you were rude. I think it was just like, I think he was even more shocked than I was. Like, I was shocked, but I think he was even more shocked than I was. And also, like, I had a minute to process it, like, to myself in the bathroom, and his processing was like in front of me. So like, if you've seen like announcement videos before, you might see people who are like, oh my gosh, and the guy like starts crying or whatever. So I guess that was kind of what I was expecting, but I don't know why, because that's not Spencer and it never has been. And it's not that it wasn't like a sweet reaction, it really was, because it was like a genuine surprise reaction, so that kind of made it good. But yeah, me telling him at McDonald's was not the plan at all. Like like I mentioned, I had watched a lot of those videos on like how to tell them and all that, so I wanted that. So I went out to the store, and we live in a small beach town where everything's pretty much closed on Sunday mornings. And I looked everywhere for these pink and blue balloons, and I ended up spending like a fortune on them because of course Dollar Tree wasn't open. And I don't know what I planned on doing with these balloons, but I planned on these balloons being like part of this reveal. And so I finally got the balloons. I put them in the trunk. As I mentioned, we live near the beach, so it's probably like 85 degrees. I didn't think about the fact that the balloons would deflate. So like I get home and I'm like, great, like I made it in the perfect amount of time before we go to church. I'm gonna be able to like hide the balloons in the living room and like tell Spencer to come take a photo with me before church, and he's gonna see the balloons and the test, and it's gonna be like this great video. Then instead, Spencer, like for the first time in his whole life, is actually up and ready for church when I get back. And I'm like, of course he would be up and ready for church when I'm trying to surprise him when he never is. But that just pretty much failed because the balloons weren't there. He was already awake, so I was just not sure what I was gonna do. So I like went to the bathroom, grabbed the test, put it in my pocketbook, which is probably really nasty. And I was like, well, at least I have this like for proof in case it ends up coming out. And I was just really nervous because I knew he was leaving the next day, so I wanted to hurry up and tell him because I didn't want to wait until that night and then him be gone for like 2 weeks and have no time to process it together. So yeah, he was like, do you want to go to McDonald's for breakfast? And then I just kind of realized like, sure, he's gonna find out at McDonald's. This is great. But I don't know. I mean, in the big scope of things, it's kind of just a funny story, I guess, if nothing else. I don't think either of us were too upset that it wasn't some magical fireworks thing. It was just kind of neat that it was both of us. Spencer was gone for 2 weeks, so that gave me a lot of time to process it to myself. And then he came back and we had our first appointment. And so like we'll insert some clips here. We actually had it during the eclipse. There was an eclipse, so it was like August, full solar eclipse, wasn't it, or something? It was like once in a very short period of time that you have, long period of time that you have one of those or whatever. And so like at the first appointment, I had no idea what to expect, and I found out that you see a lot of different doctors, which I really don't like. But I'd say our ultrasound went okay. We weren't really sure what to expect, so like I think we were just happy that there was a heartbeat and that there was a baby pretty much at that point. So at that point we were like 8 weeks, I think, when we did our first appointment. And then we ended up telling your family first.
I told my Nana and Papa. So we went over to my grandparents' house. They live in Wilmington, which is about 45 minutes to an hour south of us. And we were just going over there hanging out. And we're really just hanging out. And we had a couple of other surprises. What were other surprises?
Like you were just talking to them about like college and some of the other stuff that we were doing at the time, I think.
We had 3 things that were surprises. I can't remember the 3. I remember one of them was something with school, and then we finally came around to it. And pretty much as soon as I said we had one more surprise, both my Nana and one of my aunts shouted out at the same time, "You're pregnant!" It was kind of funny. So we're just kind of going along talking about it, and my uncle, I think it was outside or in another room.
He was like in the bathroom in the back of the house or something.
He's in another room. Yeah, he's in another room. And we were talking about how my mom's gonna flip out. When you see the video, you'll see why. But we were talking about how she was flipping out.
And we were just like planning how we might do it, because I don't think we had a couple of ideas, but we weren't really sure at that point.
And he poked his head out. He was like, "Oh yeah, whenever y'all do find out y'all are pregnant, her head is gonna pop, man. She ain't gonna know what to do. And he said something about around the lines of,
but that'll be a while.
yeah, how it'd be a
like
while,
that.
something around the lines of that. And he'd been completely oblivious to the whole thing. And then, so we told him, and he was really excited. He had a really good reaction, and my grandpa had a real good reaction, and it was really exciting.
I think it was just neat because when we did decide that we were kind of more ready to have kids, we didn't share that with anybody else, and it also just made it like happier and more exciting and surprising for them, I think. So that's kind of why I think they were all like, was it an accident? Or, I mean, people didn't say it that way, but that's basically what they are thinking, like, oh, that was a whoops.
Well, I think part of that also comes from Carly and I are very, very planned out people.
Yeah, we are.
And I think people would have expected us to tell them.
Yeah.
And I think that was where a lot of that
We're
comes
pretty
from,
open about pretty much everything else.
Usually when we say we're going to do something, I mean, we do it
Yeah.
quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, we decided we were moving here in like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and we moved in 4.
Yeah. So, I mean, pretty much we did the same thing with the baby, but we just didn't want to share that with anybody, which I'm glad. I mean, we probably would do the same decision again potentially in the future. So the reasoning that we kind of told Spencer's family first was because his Nana and Papa, well, they've always been a really big part of his life, but they're also just the closest people that live to us. So it just made the most sense for us to go ahead and tell them. And then they kind of like gave us some feedback on how we might be able to surprise his family and our family and stuff like that. So the plan was to tell the rest of our family when we drove to visit them in like that weekend. Was it that weekend? So like in a few days from the ultrasound.
And the funny thing was it had already been planned, so like nobody expected it.
Yeah, it was already a
trip.
planned
It was a planned
trip
trip to be up there anyway.
Yeah. And we went to travel the 3 to 4 hours, whatever it was. The first people we told were my parents.
Oh, your parents. 4.5.
So yeah, we told my parents, and they both had to work the weekend that we went there. So they were just kind of like, oh, we just want to get like takeouts and stay in. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we ended up having the girl that made our wedding cake, and she's also made some other like special desserts for occasions in our life. She made a cookie cake that said Baby Pageant April 2018. It was really yummy. And so basically we all had dinner, and then I had left the cake like upstairs in the guest room that Spencer and I stay in. And I told my brother, I was like, hey, I'm about to do something funny, like catch it on video, because he's always like Snapchatting or videoing everything anyways. Like he thinks it's hilarious. So we ended up, he made some crack. Didn't he say something like, what, you're not pregnant or something? And I was like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, and then I look at Spencer, I was like, oh, this is getting screwed up already. But he believed me. He was like, okay, she's not. So he got his camera ready, and then I went up and grabbed the cookie cake, and I was just coming down the stairs with it, and I was kind of like, okay, I have a special dessert. Everybody come in the living room or whatever. And so they all kind of started walking in the living room. And then I'll just kind of let the video take it away from here, so you can watch that here. Made our wedding cake to make us a special present.
Oh my gosh.
Good day.
Should I surprise you?
Congratulations. Thank you.
How did you suspect? I suspected. But I didn't believe anybody.
Why you fooling?
And we're back.
And so basically I thought it was hilarious. I was angry, as you can see in the reaction, because I tried so hard to keep it a secret from my parents, and my mom was like, well, I still suspected.
Once you have mother's intuition.
Yeah, mother's intuition. And I was like, what? I can't surprise anybody, because we'd already just had your Nana and Ken like guess it before. And Anyways, the funniest part of my parents' reaction, I think, was my dad. If you like rewind,
Good day.
he's like, "Good day."
Good day.
Like, he has such a country accent anyways, and I don't know, that just stuck out to us, and so we made it like a running joke from there, just his reaction on that.
Now it's all settled into all of us, and all of us say it.
Yeah,
all the
now we
time.
all say it without like realizing it. We're like, "Good day." But I think they were happy and it went good overall. We managed to surprise them, I would say, overall. So then I'll let you take away for your family.
And we rode out to Greensboro to meet them for dinner. And we met them at the Cheesecake Factory, which is really good. If you've not ate there, definitely recommend it. They've got amazing cheesecake. So we got there, and we're sitting down. It's always a wait. We had like a 30-minute wait to get in there, but for what I was trying to do, I knew that they would work the best because I know that they can write messages on cakes and all that stuff. So when we got there, we finally got inside, and I just told everybody I had to go use the restroom real quick. We've been waiting for a while, so very believable. Nobody suspected anything. And I ran into our waitress, and I gave her the down low on everything, and told her what I wanted her to write. Which one? Thank you.
Hold on. What's that say? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Are you serious?
I'm playing that.
We got her.
As you can see, what I said earlier about what my grandparents said about how her head was gonna explode, because I think if anybody didn't expect it at all, it would
was
be her.
her.
Yeah, she wouldn't have expected anything.
So one thing that you didn't see in the video was that she actually ended up like screaming to the restaurant like, "I'm gonna be a grandma," and then the restaurant like bursts into like applause. And
Yeah.
this is like the city that like Spencer and I kind of like one of the bigger cities that we grew up near, so we were just kind of like, don't think anybody would be in here that we know, but we kind of hope there's not, because we weren't really ready to share it with the whole world yet. But it ended up being fine. There was nobody in there, and it was just funny that the whole restaurant
Oh,
ended
everybody was looking at us, because I mean, she, woof,
yeah,
she's loud like I am.
yeah. So I'd say overall reactions were really good. We ended up waiting to tell on Facebook until like 12 weeks, and that was kind of around the time that we told most everybody else, I would say, within that 11 to 12 week mark. So I loved how that picture turned out. That's another story of itself, was just getting that picture. Only announcement picture we got, but it was a good one, so I was happy with that.
Needless to say, we drove like 2 hours to find this area that she wanted, and she didn't charge her camera, and her camera died.
Yeah.
So we literally took 3 pictures.
So by this point, if I've learned anything, it's that like all these little perfect videos and announcements and stuff don't always go the way that you plan them to, but they were like funny, and now they're their own stories in itself, and it's how it worked out for us. So I think that makes it special enough. But that's all I really have for now. If you guys liked this video, or if you are our future child, we love you.
Yep.
And
Very much. And you're gonna be spoiled rotten. Not
oh
only
yeah.
by us.
But everyone else.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are excited to meet you.
Yeah. So we're really excited just to look back on this while it's still fresh in our brains, and to continue and hopefully keep this a little bit more current. But if you would like to follow along, just hit subscribe, and we'll be updating, you know, with some more progress and stuff periodically as things come along. But thanks for watching.
Later.